Welcome to the Prospective Doctor Podcast, where we will provide essential information for pre-medical students and those already in medical school. Listen each week for tips on how to improve your application and gain an acceptance to medical school.
Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ziggy Iriano here from Med School Coach. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm going to talk about making the most of meetings. This may seem like an unusual topic of choice for college students, let alone pre-meds, but it's actually an extremely critical skill that everyone, including all college students, should but rarely learn. And here's why. When you were in high school, you rarely had to worry about searching for information because much of it was given to you by your teachers and administrators. But college is different. Yes, you will still get a lot of information directly from professors and administrators. But unlike with high school, this isn't enough if you want to be the best. As a pre-med, if you want to excel in terms of your college academics, extracurriculars, and ultimately your career in terms of getting into medical school, you must be proactive about taking the time to meet with faculty, staff, and other professional experts, whether it's to get more information about a class, to learn about career opportunities, or to make connections, to name just a few reasons. However, once you've reached out and set up a time for a meeting, your work isn't done. In fact, it's only just beginning. And that's because you should never just show up to a meeting, whether it's in person, online, or via telephone, and wing it. You want to wow the person who's taking time out of her busy day to meet with you and prove that you're mature and professional enough to be worth investing time and effort into, which in turn could lead to a long-term professional relationship. And to do that, you must prepare. A day or two before my meeting, I develop an agenda, and the first thing I do is determine the goal of the meeting. In other words, why am I meeting with this person, and what do I want to accomplish by the time it ends? Once I figure it out, I literally write it at the top of the agenda to serve as a reminder. The goal ideally should be measurable so that you can determine whether or not you achieved it by the time the meeting ends. Is the goal to get specific type of information? Is it to get recommendations for extracurriculars? Is it to get recommendations for summer internships? No matter what, you need to have clear, measurable goals. Otherwise, you're not going to know what to talk about during the meeting. Once I figured out the goals of my meeting, I research whomever I'm going to be meeting. This may seem odd given that the meeting is supposed to be about you. Ironically, however, the more you know about the person you're meeting, the more potential opportunities you create for yourself. For instance, let's assume that you're majoring in English and you're meeting with your English professor because you want to have a discussion about areas that you can write about for your senior thesis. If you didn't do any research about your professor, you could still ask decent but general questions like, what are areas that I should consider for my senior thesis? But if you did research on your professor, you might learn, for instance, that one of her specialties is the history of literary criticism, which you've never heard about but find quite riveting, which then means not only can you ask general questions about areas of specialization, but also more specific ones about her specialty. The last step in preparing is to determine the specific issues that you plan on discussing during the meeting. This not only includes figuring out questions that you want to ask, but also anticipating questions that you may be asked and preparing for them. For that meeting with your English professor, your agenda might look something like this. So the goal could be begin brainstorming areas for senior thesis and learn more about professor's specialty. And some questions you could ask include, can you tell me more about your specialty, the history of literary criticism? What should I do to learn more about this specialty? What should I do if I want my senior thesis to focus on this specialty? And if things seem to be really going well during the meeting, you might even want to ask, would you be willing to be my advisor? You should always do two things at the end of each meeting. First, you should always ask, who else should I talk to? You want to take advantage of this meeting to connect with as many other experts as possible. And one of the best ways to do so is through referrals. Second, you should have a follow-up plan with the person you're meeting. You don't want the first meeting to be the last one. Every initial meeting should serve as a jumping-off point for cultivating a long-term relationship, which in turn can potentially lead to your getting mentors, making more connections, getting references and letters of recommendation, and learning about opportunities. Finally, don't be late for the meeting, not even by a second. This may seem obvious, but when I was a college academic advisor, my advisees were sometimes late, and unfortunately not for very good reasons. So just as a newsflash, I couldn't find your office is an unacceptable excuse. First impressions really matter. So when you're late, you're telling the person that you're supposed to be impressing that you don't respect their time, and consequently, you end up starting off on the wrong foot. So that's my advice on how to make the most of meetings. I hope you found it helpful and can apply it in the future. For those of you wanting expertise advice for any and all parts of your medical school application, please consider us at Med School Coach. Our advisors are physicians who have been involved with medical school admissions committees, which means you get an insider's insight on what to expect and how to prepare. We are at www.medschoolcoach.com. Once again, thanks so much for listening, and until next time.
Our mission is to inspire, encourage, and inform students as you journey through a rigorous and intricate process of achieving your dreams in medicine. Visit us at prospectivedoctor.com for more essential resources in your medical school journey.